Chief One's out, base area.
Copy.
Welcome back to the Call Sign Chief One podcast, where we talk leadership where it matters most. Today, I am honored to welcome my friend, Chief Master Sergeant Retired William, I call him Will, Taylor, to the show. Chief Taylor brings decades of experience in the fire service and the Air Force. And what stands out most isn't just his rank or his positions that he's held. It's the consistency of leadership, mentorship, and as I read through his records and his resume, excellence over years in the fire service. If you care about leadership that lasts beyond the position that you're in, then you're going to get something from this episode today. So let's get into it. Will, my friend, welcome to Call Sign Chief One. How are you?
Chief, my brother, I'm doing outstanding, and just wanted to say an honor to be on your podcast. So definitely thank you for the invite. Very
Thank
excited
you.
to be here.
I'm glad you're here. So look, talk to us, man, about how did your Air Force journey start? What brought you to the Air Force, and then maybe what led you to fire? Did you always know you were going to be fired? How did you end up in Air Force fire protection? Well, the Air Force first, and then in fire protection.
Yeah, no, I did not know I was going to be in fire. Actually, my older brother, he's a police officer and now retired deputy sheriff in California, and I looked at him as being one of my mentors, one of my role models, and that was kind of the path that I wanted to go. I knew I tried college out for a little bit. I say I enrolled. I just didn't show up to class. Okay, I did not have the discipline. So I'd looked at the Air Force as an option coming out of high school, did some college, found out, this really isn't for me. I need something to better discipline myself. So went back to where I was at, because I had already gone through MEPS and did all that and didn't have a great experience at the MEPS. It was in Oakland, California. Not that the area, it was kind of the people in MEPS, and you know how that can be, right? So, you fast forward about a year, and I'm like, I can shed that. It wasn't that bad. So, so I went and talked with the recruiters when I was living in Georgia. I'd moved from California to Georgia, go to school out there, and that kind of went in. So, being that I wanted to go, for police, you would think that's pretty easy AFSC to be able to get into with the amount of defenders that we have. Going back into high school, my junior and my senior year, I was in a class. It's kind of a niche class. There's not many, if any, other programs in the United States that have this. It's called KCOR, Kelseyville Community Organization for Rescue and Public Service. So with that, you're part of the Sheriff's Department search and rescue team. And they bring you in, you get voted in. It's 24 members. There's 12 juniors, 12 seniors. The seniors are the oldies. The juniors are the greenies. Hazing was very prevalent. I'll just say that, right? Because you got to earn your dues. So it was a very military unique organization, very military-esque. So that kind of started me off. I got accepted. I got voted in. You do that your junior year. It summarizes at the end of your junior year what they call the overnighter. So it's a 3-day exercise that they put you through: man tracking, technical rescue, EMS, map and compass, everything you would need to do for search and rescue. Sheriff's Department will utilize them too for like weapon searches. If somebody throws a gun out of a car, side of a highway, you get to go out there and do a line search and try to help out and find out. Did a lot of rescues, Northern California. So tech rescue, that was kind of where it set the foundation for me in that. And then when I went to MEPS, I had to retake the ASVAB. Went in and they said, all right, so you can be an F-15 crew chief, you can be a dental tech, you can be an X-ray tech. I started going through all these things, and that is not, it wasn't in my DNA. Right. So I said, all right, well, I kept looking through the list. I'm like, what's this fire protection specialist? What is this? And they're like, oh, it's great. Yeah, we have an opening, but you're you're good. You can have that job if you want. You know, you get to be a firefighter and do this. So I'm like, yeah, that's perfect. That's for me. It just felt right, right. So I came in guaranteed, and that kind of started me off on my journey into fire protection.
Man, that's nice. That's a great story, and it's kinda crazy because with that rescue, search and rescue background, and I know we'll likely get into it during our discussion. You ended up getting an opportunity to be a part of that world and teach that, to a great deal of firefighters. And so, well, it's just something how before you even joined the Air Force, you had already kind of started going down that path. That's something. I will ask, well, I would just say that, just thinking back to our time together, we go way back. And so we were neighbors actually at
Right.
Goodfellow Air Force Base. We were taught at the schoolhouse at the same time. I think you got to the schoolhouse early in '03. I came in
Mm-hmm.
late in '03.
Mm-hmm.
And you left just a month before I did, at the time when they were kicking all of us out, out of the schoolhouse at a certain point in time. They were bringing in a lot of civilians and shedding a lot of the military.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but during that time was a great time, and I just remember, we lived directly, like, across the street from each other, not
Directly
like
across. Yeah.
across the street, around down the street, across the street. You were, like, right across the street.
Yeah.
Uh, I do remember, days when you'd have your pickup truck out there, and I'd come out there, and we'd have a beer and just
Yeah.
talk,
Yeah.
about life, and,
Yeah.
those were good times. We had Greg Young, a couple
Uh-huh.
of doors down.
Yeah.
We had
Great.
Ronald Brown down the street.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
had Nick Morris,
Huh?
um, Amos. I don't know if I'm missing
Yeah. Jimmy.
anybody
Yeah.
else, but
Yeah.
we had a lot of great guys, right on that same block. I think you referred to it as, what did you refer to it as?
Family Housing Annex 3, Paul Ann. Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely it was yeah.
It was just a great time. If you could, just kinda share what did you get most from your time at Goodfellow at the schoolhouse? And I know you taught in the advanced course and you taught rescue. What did you gain most from your time there?
It was about the people. It was about the people. I loved rescue. I was a rescue guy coming up. That was just, as us old guys were, right? When we had the P10, if you wanted to be the best, you were riding rescue, right? So that was my goal. Coming in to the fire department is just learning the job, trying to be the best that I could. Uh, and definitely, San Angelo, not the most favorable place in the United States to live, right? Especially back in the early 2000s. Not a lot going on there, but it was just an amazing assignment because the people, the cadre that you got to teach with, that you got to interact with. My God, look how many leaders in the fire service that have come out of the fire academy, right? And lifelong friends too. Common bond, probably trauma bonded, but
Yep,
yeah, it
agree.
was yeah, it was a common bond for sure. Definitely about the people and just the mission. I mean, what you cannot have a bad day coming into work saying, "What do you have to do today?" "Oh, I got to go teach high angle rescue, or I got to go do trench." Now it's hot, especially during rescue too, during some of those summers. Uh, but yeah, it was the mission and the people. Plus, I mean, the rescue course, we had lightning in a bottle. Yeah, amazing, amazing people back in the rescue course. So,
Yeah, you guys did have a good group of rock stars. What advice would you give to young firefighters today who might be interested in going to the schoolhouse, whether they teach in rescue or in a basic course? What advice would you give a young firefighter that might be thinking about that duty?
yeah, definitely look for the opportunity when it presents. You don't want to be, um, you don't want to be stovepiped. You want to be steam piped, right? So you want to have a broader perspective of the job of the mission. Great to get out of the career field because you get a T prefix, and that's advantageous because you do get that breadth of experience. Yeah, and there's just nothing better than perfecting the craft of which you already know and then learning more on top of it every day. Because let's be honest, we would go into the classroom and we're teaching now basic course a little bit different than the advanced course, right? Basic course, you've got straight, extension and BMT that's coming in. So a little bit different teaching the advanced courses, and that's something to work up to, right? Do some time in the basic course would be, but have your, have your eyes set on also maybe going into an advanced course and teaching that as well, because now you're starting to teach your peers. And now it's more of a discussion back and forth about here's my experience, here's
Mhm.
what the lesson plan says, here's what the book says, but let's share because, as an instructor, I learned sometimes just as much from students as what they were learning from me.
Yeah, true. Yeah, thinking back to that time there, there is a big difference in that. I taught my entire time the basic course. So being in the basic course the entire time, when you speak, students listen and they don't really argue with you much or have those dissenting or opposing or just challenging views, different views. They are gonna just literally take what you give them and run with it, right?
Yeah.
But it's different in the in the advanced courses, as you know, I'm sure. And just thinking of my time,
Right.
because of course, being there, we get the privilege of going to a lot of
Sure.
advanced courses when
Yeah.
they open. So, yeah, that doesn't sound right. Are you sure about this? So you really got to kind of shift gears on how you approach your students, and also, um, there's not going to be much winging it. If you don't know what you're talking about, they're going to be able to call that out pretty quickly. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, that can happen. That's a pitfall, right? So, be careful what you say. Make sure you're speaking truth, and and sometimes you have to understand that you may have somebody that's in there that has more experience. So lean on that, and okay, so you're saying that you had this experience. How did you handle it? Explain to me what was it that you found that was challenging in this emergency response that you had? What advice would you have, and use that as that bounce back to be able to, all right, well, let's talk a little bit further about that. Maybe I can learn something from you. So
I definitely love it. Yeah, great time, man, and definitely thank you for what you did. That was great being there with you. I mean, that's when I knew I met you for the first time there at the schoolhouse, and I got a chance to kind of see you in action down there. Of course,
Mhm.
we all see each other as we pass, but I had the honor as well of being your neighbor. So
Yeah.
you gonna see me no matter what. Whether it was at work or at home, you were going to see me no matter what. You were promoted to senior and below the zone, man. And my gosh, just looking at your records and looking at all of the accolades, my gosh, Larry Daniels, PACAF winner. I could go on, man. I can this that could be a whole episode on recognition and awards
Yeah.
and different things like that. But uh, I don't know where you keep your cape, but thinking back to when you were a senior airman,
Yeah.
what were you doing differently, during those early years that set you up, uh, for BTZ?
Yeah. So I think, the foundation was set when I came in, and I was very fortunate because I had some amazing mentors that were not active duty. They were civil service, previous Air Force, but they were just amazing, and they did not suffer fools well, right? So I remember, my assistant chief was about end of Vietnam era, kind of coming in, into the military, and then my mentor, who I'll drop his name, he's no longer with us, unfortunately, Norm Allard. A lot of guys knew him, and he was just an amazing individual. Him and Joe Reeves was our assistant chief. Just two amazing individuals that kind of set the foundation for me walking in the door. And they're like, look, we don't suffer fools well. This is an important job. Your life depends on it. Your teammates' life depends on it. The people that we serve, their life depends on it. So you come correct every day. You come correct every day, and we don't there are no alibis, there are no I'm sorries, there's no crying in the fire station. We're going to get after it, and we're going to do what's expected of us to protect the community. So that was humbling for sure, right? Because you think, hey, I'm here. You all should be happy I'm here to be able to help out, right?
I have
That
arrived.
attitude doesn't work out very well. Okay. That attitude does not work out very well. Again, earn your dues, right? So luckily I did not, maybe a little bit of cockiness when it came to it in that respect. as the days and months and years went on, improving yourself, right? Because you gain that little bit of that ego. Hey, look at me, how good I am.
Yep, yep, yep.
But I learned in high school, going through K Corps, that you got to earn your dues. You got to earn your dues. So that kind of set the foundation. Now you fast forward about a year into my first duty assignment. I was assigned to Maxwell Air Force Base in Montgomery,
Okay.
and within the first year, we had a great mutual aid agreement and training program to be able to go out and train with the volunteer departments that we had, because
Mhm.
Alabama, it's mostly volunteer rural area. So I was involved in an incident in a training fire. It's supposed to be burning the house down, and so when I got caught inside, right? The house was set on fire. That wasn't supposed to happen. It was just supposed to be search and rescue evolution inside the structure, and we did it multiple times, right? 55-gallon drum, top was cut off, pine straw smoldering inside of it, so it'd be smoky conditions inside. Play a victim. I played the victim on one evolution, and search and rescue team came in, they found me, extricated me, front side, right? Bravo or Alpha, and took it out. Now we get to the last evolution, and they said, "Hey, we need somebody to play a victim again." I was still bunkered up. I was like, "Yeah, I'll go." First time I did not have my air pack on. Second time I did. If I did not have my air pack on, I would be dead, because, and I don't know what it was. It told me grace of God, guardian angel, whatever you want to call it. But I did not have my air pack on the first time, and something said, "Hey, it's really bad inside there. Your Nomex hood just covering your mouth. That's not doing it. Put your air pack on. You got it. Use it." So I did. Went inside the room, laid a couch over top of me, just my ankles sticking out. Same evolution, same scenario. They're supposed to come in, extricate me, all said and good. Well, what happened was an individual had a miscommunication between command and the light officer, and they went and lit the house on fire. They used half diesel, half gas when they lit it. So you want to talk about a 1403 scenario going bad, right? Holes cut in the subceiling, linoleum left on the floor, windows boarded up, tin roof covering, 20 penny nails, whole 9 yards. So um, difficult to get out. I will say that. So, and one of the reasons why I say Norm Allard is my mentor, because he was there, and we went through we trauma bonded over that for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, but I was laying in the corner, and I knew something was wrong. It was taken, felt like it was eons for them to come and find me. And I rolled the couch off of me, pitch black, couldn't see. Training kicked in, left hand search pattern, get out. Made it to the first door was boarded, couldn't get through it. Then I went to the only opening doorway that went into the great room, which was where they had the holes cut in the subceiling. The linoleum was already melted by the time I got there. So hand slid in the linoleum, immediately felt like they burnt off. Um, and at that point, I'm like, I can't go any further. I could feel the heat and uh, very dark, but a glow, and the amount of heat that was radiating from the great room. I knew I needed to I need to back up. I can't get in there. Probably going to flash. I'm not sure what's going on. Turn my pass device on. Training kicked in, got into the back corner of the room, and I was sitting there thinking, well, this might be it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this might be it. So I reached up, and again, guardian angel, whatever, reached up and felt the window where that tin roof covering was. It was nailed to the inside of the windowsill. Felt that. I smashed it out, smashed the window out. And they went, "Oh, Taylor's inside that room." They went and broke the other window in, shot a hose stream in. So when we teach people, get down,
Mhm.
in those instances, you don't have to say it. It doesn't need to be communicated, right? Because I was eating the floor. So steam, everything rolled off, whatever. And then after that, tried to get out, fell back in, and then finally I got out and flipped over, landed on my air pack. But I had about 25% of my body, second and third. Training.
My God.
Train as if your life depends on it. Train as if your team's life depends on it. Train to be able to help the community. Right. So that set the foundation. I was an A1C when it happened.
Yeah,
So from that point forward, we can get into the other side of it. It's probably a whole nother podcast on legal ramifications and everything else that happened and some of the other stuff that um, um, different era, right? About commanders, first sergeants,
yeah,
safety investigations, stuff like that. I don't think it was in the favor of the airmen.
yeah.
So I made sure that my sole focus was I'm going to be a chief one day and I'm going to run the department and I'm going to make sure that we train safety training family. Those are the top three. And under my watch, we're going to avoid this at all costs. Take care of our airmen, take care of the community that we serve.
Gosh, man, that is that is powerful stuff, man. My gosh, I can only imagine. Maybe what's going through your head during the time you're a kid as well, brand new to the Air Force versus me. I can only imagine, but I do know that I'm thankful that you're here with us still, and I'm sure there's so many people, man, that have benefited from you as a father, as a as a husband, as a leader, as a friend. Um, you made it through that for a reason, and I'm sure there's a you can probably look back and see what that reason is now, and I'm sure a lot of us
Yeah.
who are thankful for you understand why it wasn't your time, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, man, wow, thank you for sharing that, powerful stuff. I will say, we talk about legacy,
Mhm.
and at a certain point, I think there has to be a time because you mentioned that ego and hey, I can do this and I got to prove myself and and I'm gonna show that I can do it. At a certain point, you realize, hmm, okay, it ain't about me no more, right? People are listening to me and holding on to every word. At what point for you did you realize you weren't just kind of building a career for yourself? You were actually leaving a mark on other people.
That's that's a great question. I think it's probably at that transition point when you start becoming a first line supervisor. It's kind of that senior airman to NCO, and it didn't happen right away. It was a little bit further down the timeline, and it was because of mentorship. And I had an awesome chief master sergeant, JJ Jimenez, that
Mhm.
I think we went to ALS graduation and the next day, he's like, "Hey, T, come to my office. I need to talk to you." Geez, what I do? I don't think I did anything wrong, but all right. And he's like, "Where's your mess dress?" I was like, "Well, chief, just staff sergeant. I'm not, tried to play that out. They're expensive, da da da." And he's like, "T, you're," and no, and he actually said this. He was like, "You're gonna be a chief someday. You need to start now.
Yeah.
You need to start now.
Mm.
Dress for success. This is what's expected of you. You're going to be a senior NCO." I think, in retrospect, I look back at that and I was like, that was something simple that he said, but it has so much merit because it was like, invest in yourself. You're going to
Mm.
be here for a long time.
Yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
like, wow. And I never thought of it in that respect. It's just kind of day to day grind. I'm going to come in, I'm doing my job, going out and doing fire inspections because I was in the prevention officer. Then I got moved over into training. And hey, you're taking care of all the airmen and their upgrade training, making sure their OJT records and everything else. And it was one of those aha moments where I'm like, oh, yeah, you're right. I probably am going to be in. Am I a lifer? I'm probably a lifer. Yeah. Okay. No. And then it's one of those where you're like, yeah, and this is it. This isn't a job, right? This is a career, it's profession of arms. I think that was kind of one of those times in my life where it really started clicking for me that this isn't a job.
Yeah. Yeah. And obviously, as I go through your records and read through, and we talk about excellence, and especially as one of our core values, excellence in all we do. I mean, you also um, distinguished graduate at NCOA and senior NCOA. Um, what kind of habits could could you share? What does it take? and what kind of routine, what kind of habits do you have to create for yourself to be able to continuously and consistently maintain that kind of excellence?
Yeah. So I think, and my, I think my commander at Mildenhall, Colonel Lou, he was Major Lou when I was Senior Master Sergeant Taylor at McConnell, right? And Commander in Chief had deployed. So he was G Series Orders Commander. I was a CEM as a brand new Senior Master Sergeant, right? So we went back, but at my retirement, he was saying he is the Rain Man of NFPA standards. Yeah, like, okay.
I love it.
Okay, yeah, because I would, right? Quote chapter and verse. Same thing for the AFI. But I think I was just blessed with a really good memory.
Yeah,
So, as I read, but not only reading stuff and being able to memorize it, it's also being able to interpret it and also be able to put in your mind, how am I going to use this in the future and what situation is this going to be applicable to me, to put it in context. So I think that's just the way that my brain works. But I also have this drive just to do the best that I can do. I feel like I would let myself down knowing what my capability is if I did anything less, right? Get up in the morning, go work out, go to work, go do your best. Because that's what people expect of you. So letting myself down, letting my family down, letting my supervisors down, that was always a drive, but never losing sight of you're part of a team, right? So, you go to PME and everything else, you're part of a flight. You've got 10, 12 other people that are in there. Don't let them fall behind either, right? Help them out because you don't get there without a team. Like all those accolades, all that other stuff, that's not singular accomplishments.
it's true. That is true. I will say,
Absolutely.
yeah,
So,
I will say that I am one who owes you. A lot of folks think that it is all about what they're doing. That's only a small part of it. A lot of this is who you listen to, who you talk to, who you pay attention to, who's coaching you. Uh,
mhm,
it's a big part of it. I remember my first fire chief gig. I happened to talk to someone because that's what happens. We all, hope if you're successful at this, you've likely had conversations with other chiefs and folks who are ahead of you um, to kind of bounce some things off of them and get a different perspective. And so I remember one time I was talking about how I was about to shift my open door policy, and I was not going to be able to have so many people coming. It was taking up a lot of my time. I wasn't going to be able to get a lot of things done. And I was talking to someone and asked the question about what is it that I need to do. And it's kind of like this is what I'm doing. This is how I'm handling this. Guy was checking up on me.
mhm,
So I said, this is what I'm gonna do. And this person told me, just remember, man, yep, you do have to kind of figure out how to make the most of your time. But just remember when your people stop coming to you, you're no longer lending them. Do you remember the guy that told me that? That was you.
yeah,
Yeah. So at the end of the day, I never lost sight of that.
yeah,
And I'll tell you, I never altered that open door policy because of that.
yeah,
Because you just never know when your folks are going to need you. The moment you close that door and you shut people off, that may be the time that airman, that NCO, your deputy, they may need you then. So even if I did have to close the door, I would always tell folks, "Hey, my door is going to be closed, but if you need me, come on in. Just come on in." Right. So I'm closing the door because I don't want to hear distractions or anything like that in the hallway. But if you need me, open the door and come on in. Right. So, but I got that from you, and that's just a testament to where we're kind of all in this together, and that even when you are in the seat, you don't always know everything. Um, and so, yeah, so absolutely, I definitely want to say thank you for being there to offer perspective, and it's a different way of seeing things.
mhm,
For me when I was a young fire chief and my first fire chief gig. Yeah, I appreciate that. So let's talk about the departments you led. I mean, you've been numerous assignments
mhm,
from Maxwell to Osan. McGuire. Oh my gosh. Then we're talking numerous deployments. So obviously Goodfellow, Eielson, my gosh, deployed to Afghanistan. We're talking about McConnell, which I had the opportunity to be there as well. Osan again and again, and then then Mildenhall, and then wow, my gosh, you wrapped up your career in England.
I did.
So
Yeah.
what changes um, about leading firefighters across cultures, and what never changes? If you don't
Yeah,
mind me.
that's a great question. So I think the faces change,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
You're going to see very similar personalities
Yep.
between people, right? But the faces change. What motivates them changes. Mission sets, absolutely. My gosh, we get such an exposure depending. And so going back to the other piece about professional development and developing yourself, be willing to move. Don't be stagnant,
Mm, there it
right?
is. Yeah,
Go to a new base. I know some people and that may not be for them, but just understand that if you want to get a breadth of experience, you need to be willing to go and move. Gives you the ability to redefine yourself. You're going to learn a new mission set. You're going to get exposed to different people, different leadership styles, different first sergeants, different commanders. All of that shapes you throughout your career. So don't get sedentary, right? The faces may change, personalities, you'll see there's similarities, mission set changes. But at the end of it, the core mission of what firefighters do, we put wet stuff on the red stuff, right? TTPs are going to change. New tech comes out all the time. We've seen it throughout the years of how that evolves. Different threats emerge, right? Fire loads change, et cetera, et cetera. But at the end of the day, our sole purpose is to save lives, property, environment. That does not change. A little bit how you get after, it, right? With the TTPs.
I love it, man. Yeah, thanks for that perspective. I appreciate that. Let's talk accreditation a little bit because I know where you were at Mildenhall, you guys led that accreditation process for the department there. What was well, first off, let me read a quote directly, a quote here about your department. It came from the agency that gave it to you. It says, "This DOD fire department is the benchmark by which others should be graded." Right. And that, of course, comes from CPSE uh, when you guys went for your CFAI accreditation. What was the biggest thing that your department gained through that process and learned? I was when I worked with Chief Pittman and Andrews. We
Mhm.
had the opportunity to get accredited and gained it. So I know the heavy lift that is to achieve that. Um, what did your department? And I was there at Mildenhall
Right.
before you guys were accredited, so I know what the department was like then. How did that help the department, change the department? What was the greatest benefit there?
Sure. Yeah. So I think got to go back to my viewpoint on accreditation, right? So when we had the FESAP and we went through on all the checklists and we had our UEIs and ORIs and OREs and now they're calling them something different. I think they've changed the name again. But ultimately at McConnell, actually, and Chuck Hudson and I had this conversation because I said, "Why are we doing this?" I was not an accreditation fan. I said, "Why are we doing this, Chief?" And he said, "Well, let me tell you, there's value in doing this, right?" And he was well vested in the process. And Mr. Dodson at McConnell was the accreditation manager. So being the deputy, I kind of over the shoulder with them, looking at all the accreditation. I'm like, man, this is a lot of stuff. There's a lot of exhibits that are in here. And I think it finally clicked for me as we went through the whole process for McConnell to get reaccredited. Was that this is a extra way. I don't want to say extra work because you're already doing the work, right? You're putting it into a different format a little bit and making the responses a little bit putting more justification into them, a little bit more explanation when it comes to those exhibits. Better define how you're doing business, right? But it's a commitment to the community to say that we're using industry standards here, right? That are well known. And when you follow this model, you're going to identify gaps, right? You're going to identify gaps in coverage. You're not sitting there doing the five whys on everything, but if you're running the accreditation model, you're going to. It's a better way to articulate also for funding and
Yeah.
equipment and
Yeah.
training. So I gained that from McConnell the way that we did it, and I knew that as future years go, when I'm running the show, then that's going to be something that we look at, that we entertain.
Yeah.
OSAN, obviously, that's
Right.
too big of a beast. We're not
Yeah.
we're not getting that on a 365 remote. There's just that's not going to happen. But when I got to Mildenhall, I didn't say it for the first 12 months. I did not mention accreditation, right? But I knew what needed to be done to be able to get there. So that drove my first 12-month methodology of getting into Mildenhall, doing the self-assessment myself to see where we're at. How are we tracking run times? Are we getting the aggregate response times? How are we doing unannounced and announced on our crash? How are we tracking it? Where's the data kept? Do we have 3 years of credible data to be able to do this? What does our training program look like? So all of that was kind of going on. And and then also looking at the UEI schedule, because I knew when our UEI was coming up, because
Yeah.
there's nothing better that you could do is to be accredited, right? And have a UEI right after that and be able to be like, hey, sir, hey, Colonel Lou,
There
I
it is.
got you covered because we just got accredited. Our
There it is.
UEI inspector has shown up.
There it is.
Here's our books. We're solid, right? As long as we're not cooking the books, you got to be honest in your answers. And if you don't, your peer assessment team's going to find that out. So
Yeah.
there's a caveat. There's a caveat for that one. The safety message: be honest, have integrity when you answer those, because they will sniff it out. So, that was my first 12 months, and then when we got in there, and I really got to know my team, right? And that's what I would tell is the chief officers when we were sitting in staff meeting. Yeah, I'm fire chief. I'm ultimately responsible. I'm sitting in the seat. I have ultimate culpability, right? Stuff goes wrong, they're coming for me, right? And I will cover you because my job is to make sure that you are protected, that I'm not putting you in positions that you're not trained and equipped for. If I did, I haven't done my job.
Yeah.
And I would tell them we're a management team, okay, fire chief, but we gotta check each other's six. I'm not infallible. You may think I have a crystal ball. I don't. It's a magic 8 ball. Okay,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
shake it, and sometimes it gives me the wrong answer. So that kind of set forward for accreditation. We got past that 12-month point, and then Steve Sanabria was actually there, tech sergeant, master sergeant select, now retired, doing very well in private sector as a safety specialist in the Fort Walton Beach area. So shout out to Steve if you're watching.
Nice.
You're my boy, because he took it on the chin many days as I would go in there and have update briefings on where we were at accreditation, but I made him the accreditation manager, right? So I said, I don't know how you're going to do it, but we're going to get accredited within the 11-month period.
I love it. I love it.
And
I
he
like.
made it happen. And he
Yeah.
made it happen. We went from candidate to recommendation for accreditation in 11 months. And it was just amazing. They came in, they had 5 or 6 RIAs, and after we got done, when I got the outbrief from the peer assessment team, they said we were very apprehensive when we came in. We all met at the airport, and they all said, "Did you see what I saw?" And they're like, "Yeah, like nothing. Like everything looks way too perfect." But they said the ink matches the actions.
It is.
And I couldn't get all those awards, accolades, all that other stuff, ink matching the actions for our department that was meeting all of those benchmarks within the accreditation model. They were all rock stars. I love Millennium Hall. It was such a great time in my life.
You guys got U Safety's Fire Department of the Year 2 times, 2 years in a row. Yeah. So man, that's a testament to great leadership and great teamwork, right? And absolutely. So when you talk about your authority as a fire chief, and we talked earlier on a little bit about ego, and that's I think that's something that all firefighters got. I used to tell people my job is to manage egos, right? So I we're all heroes in our business, right? So
Right.
how do you maintain or did you, do you currently maintain that authority, that calm authority, um, without allowing that ego to take over? And specifically, not so much specifically in a way, if you can frame the answer in a way where it kind of helps some of those firefighters out there where the ego might be here, but we may need to kind of balance that out a little bit. How did
Mhm.
you that?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Especially as a fire chief.
Right, yeah, because that is the pitfall of leadership, right? When you
Mm,
let your ego get a
yeah.
hold of you, and I think it would be very easy to do, to be braggadocious. I'm the top 1%.
Mm,
Look at me, look
yeah.
at everything that I've done, right? Um, I I would always say this when I was either teaching, like, professional development, going and talking with ALS, or teaching, like, when I was in Korea, I got a chance to teach the USFK, NCO leadership course, John Troxel, right? Had put that on when he was the SEAC there, and just an awesome time, Mongodai Warrior and all that other stuff to be able to go through. One of the things that I would always tell people is the higher up you go in the organization, the more rank that you have, the less you should talk and the more you should listen, right? And when in the CFETP, we had that pyramid, right, where it has the fire chief at the top, right? You've self-actualized kind of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You're at the top, right? You're at the pinnacle. You're up there. I'd always say flip that over, flip it over. Fire chief is the least important person. Yeah, we got a lot of responsibility, but to be able to articulate that, communicate that down to the airmen, to the lowest level, to the firefighters, I'm not the most important person here. That isn't what drives me every day. You are the most important person here. Your safety, your training, making sure that you're equipped to be able to do the job. You are the most important thing to me. You're at the top of my thought process. And that really, I think that helped humbled me for when I would want to let my ego get in the way.
I heard that.
And you don't, I don't think you let you show that to the younger people and everything else. Now there's certain times for it, right? When you got
Yeah. Oh
flex,
yeah. Oh
right?
yeah.
Usually it's in conversations like when you're sitting there with wing commander, group commanders, and everything else, and they're trying to do things the easy way. And right, as a chief, we don't say yes because it's the easy way. We're the ones that are standing up saying no. That's not the right. We're not doing that.
Oh, yeah. You can do whatever you want to do, Colonel, but I'm going to tell you right now, that's not the way to do business, right?
Yeah,
You're either breaking the law,
yeah,
or or you or you're doing something unethical.
yeah.
At the end of the day, this is not the way to go, right? And
1487 and the deliberate risk assessment worksheet will be on your desk in the morning for
100,
signature.
100%.
Yeah, yeah, that's coming. Expect it. It'll be staffed up appropriately.
But that, yeah, and that again, that's why our positions existed, and that's what's expected of a chief, and of course goes without saying that a senior officer gets to accept risk, and
I
but there
think
you
that
go.
was in the creed. When the rest of the world is saying yes, you have to be the one that has the courage to say
Woo!
no.
There it is. There it is. That is in the Chiefs Creed, indeed. So look, if you could sit down with a brand new NCO firefighter,
Mhm.
'cause that's where, that shift happens, right?
Right.
You're one of the crew, the good guys, the quote unquote the boys, or the cool kids crew. And then next thing you know, you become an NCO, and now you're getting ready to supervise potentially some of your friends, right? If you had the opportunity to sit down with a brand new NCO firefighter who's getting ready to take on that leadership mantle, for the first time, and I guess I should say positional leadership, for
Sure.
the first time, what advice would you give them?
Yeah. Because you're going from being that informal leader to a formal
Yep,
leader now,
yep,
right? Yeah.
yep.
I'm your first line supervisor. Man, the best thing, the best thing that you can do is figure out what your goals and priorities are. You can't lead people if you don't know where you're going, right? If your compass is spinning around and you don't know what direction you're heading, what your azimuth is, you need to figure that out first. Figure out what your goals are, what your left and right is, right? What your what your inner self says is what's right and wrong, right? And then set that for your subordinates. Give them the left and the right. They're looking for somebody to lead them. They're absolutely looking for somebody to lead them. So you need to know which way you're going in life, what your goals are, and have a hard look. Have a hard look at that. That'll help you frame the way that you have that conversation with your troops, and then set goals and expectations for them. And there's nothing wrong with that. If people want to push back because they have an issue with now you're in charge, right? So you put your stripe on, you come in the next day, and now you think you're better than me, right?
Right.
No, I don't think I'm better than you.
Yeah.
I'm in a new position. I'm your supervisor. I know what my expectations are. This is what I expect from you. Let's go together, right? Because I only want to see you succeed. And that's probably the best message that you could ever give to anybody.
I love it, Sam.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, and go get you a mess dress by
And
tomorrow.
go get you a mess dress. You didn't need it. I
I love
still
it.
have it. I
I
still
love it,
have
man.
the same old.
My gosh, man. No, so I will say full transparency. I still have the jacket, the top, the coat, but I had to get a new pair of pants. So yeah, it
New
is
pair of
pretty.
pants. Yeah, I haven't tried the pants on. I might be right there with you. So
But so look, if you had to summarize, and we're coming up on
yeah.
just coming up on towards the end of our time, but if you had to summarize 30 years of leadership, man, into one kind of like nugget, one principle, what would that be?
Right. Like big takeaways for leadership in the fire service that I've learned after 30 years. Um, it's one of those tricks. Great commanders always told me give them a 3, right? Don't give them
Yeah,
2, don't give them 4, give them 3,
that's it.
right?
Three.
So
They're gonna
3
remember
C's.
three. That
Right. So you get the 3 C's, right? First one's climate and culture, right? As a fire service leader, chief sets a culture, right? First line supervisors, midline supervisors, they set the climate. That's the thermostat. They need to turn it up, turn it down, right? It's almost like chief gets to play the music, uh, you know, and AC's down. They need to be able to adjust the volume. So be mindful of that. Again, expectations, setting the culture, left and right parameters. This is what we will accept. This is what's not accepted. And it should be a no brainer, kind of like kindergarten, right? Finish your milk and cookies, keep your hands to yourself, treat others the way that you want to be treated. Things that we learn in kindergarten, sometimes those need to be readdressed. But climate and culture, first thing to look at, right? Second one, communication. Okay. So communication is huge. You hit on it when you said like barriers to communication, keeping your door shut, being unavailable. That may be that time where that airman or that firefighter need to talk to you immediately. And if you've set up those barriers to communication, that may deter them from coming at maybe the worst moment in their life of where they needed you. Right. They were like, wow, I wish Chief Taylor would have had his door open so I could have talked to him. Yeah. So yeah, culture, climate, communication. And then, the last one is consistency. You got to be consistent as a leader. Your people need to know what individual they're getting on the day to day, right? Because that could be a barrier to communication. That could be a deviation from your climate and your culture. You have to be consistent in the way that you lead. It needs to be fair and equitable across the board. They need to know that person that they're getting on that day is the same person that they talk to. And I will put a shout out to Josh Trundle, right? Chief Trundle, who's down at Nellis at the weapons school as a command chief, and one of my lifelong friends. I've known Josh since Maxwell, and he was my deputy in Korea, and he was there during a pretty difficult time in my life. They there was a situation that was going on where I was going to grab my radio and I was going out to the scene.
Mhm.
He came in and said, "You need to sit down and shut your door. I will go handle this." Talk about a great teammate, right? A great wingman, because he knew I was about to go out and probably wreck some people's inner child. That was about to happen. It was about Tech Sergeant Taylor taking his white helmet off and slinging it
Yeah,
across
yeah,
the deck
yeah.
because people are doing silly things. And man, yeah, Josh, if you see this, dude, you're the tops, brother. Love you, because yeah, that was he made sure that he took care of me to make sure that I didn't break my consistency with our people. So yeah, culture, climate, communication, and consistency. You do those three things, and you're well on the way to be able to build a great department.
Thanks for that, Chief. Thank you. So what are you doing now, Chief?
Yeah.
What's life
So
looking like now that you retired and you hung it up? I know you did do some government contractor work for a little while, and yeah, and well, what's Chief Taylor doing now?
yeah, so I took about 5 years where I worked in the private sector, so I did that for a while, and it was because I was taking care of my mom and my dad. They'd come to live with us on the property down in Florida, so I was doing that for a while, and then this opportunity presented of which I'm doing now. So I'm a government contractor working for Headquarters Army Material Command out of Redstone Arsenal, and privileged to work with a great team: Steve Sutherland, Mike Patterson, Tony Lorman, working for AJ Eversley and Tim Rickard up at HQDA, and just all Air Force guys, right? So there's a shout out to that, but blessed to be able to help out with the vehicle program. So learning a lot and getting after some of the issues to be able to help out with the fleet management portion of it. So yeah, and loving it every day because I'm back. I feel like I'm back integrated into the team, right? The purple is working for the army, but it's great, different perspective, learn a lot about how the army does business. It's awesome.
Appreciate you, brother. Any final thoughts? Any final words as we get ready to wrap up? And it's been a great conversation. I am so
Absolutely. This is like we're sitting at the back of the truck just
I'm
having a
telling
beer.
you, and
Yeah,
that's
kind of
that's
the intent,
literally
right? Because it
what I
should be.
want this to be, is,
Yeah.
let's get I'm not the smartest guy, and I'm sure you've seen, some of my videos and things that I've been posting over the last year. These are just my thoughts and things that I feel like I believe will help people, but at the end of the day, this platform, I'm like, "Look, first off, I'm tired of talking. I don't wanna talk all the time." I wanna be able to give, some other folks that I've learned from, I've worked with, there's a my gosh, the knowledge that we have. I mean, you just named like 5 names that are working with you right now that are legends in our business, right? And that's just right there. They're right there working with you, but how many others are out there? And I've been in talks with folks in other branches that are in fire or rescue in some way, shape, form, or fashion. I'm gonna have them on. I wanna hear from leaders out in the field, about their experiences, about their backgrounds, about their paths, because we're not that much different. We all come from different
Yeah.
places, different walks of life, but really at the end of the day, we're not that much different. We all did this for a reason. We all
Mhm.
decided to serve and we all stayed in as long as we did for a reason. And at the end of the day, man, guys like you, and so many others that are out there, I don't want it to end up being one of those tactics and strategies, discussions all the time, because those change as you alluded to, right?
Yeah.
Those change, but what I wanna hear about are the things that I think some of our young airmen, and our younger firefighters and wanna hear about, okay, wow, wow, when they hear these stories, they go, "Wow, I came from California," "Oh, wow, I grew up in Chicago too," and, "Oh, wow, he went through this, I went through this. Wow, if he can do it, I can do it," and, those are the things, those in-depth conversations, peeling back the onion a little bit on leaders' careers and paths, I think is valuable, for folks that are out there that seek to step up to these positions, right? And again, as you and I know, we got to have leaders. We don't have leaders willing to step up and able to step up. This thing fails. We absolutely need firefighters and folks that are doing the dirty work and the hard work.
Mhm.
But they need coaches and folks that can guide them. And so
No,
thank you for being
absolutely.
one of those coaches. I'm gonna give you the floor for final words.
Yeah, no, no, I mean, you hit the nail on the head, and social media platform is just great because we get to we get to have an open conversation, and I think that really speaks to the human element of an interaction between two people, and from the floor up, those young airmen, those young firefighters need to know that you are mortal, right? You do bleed. You're not bulletproof, and that you are human. So having this to be able to talk back and forth about certain issues, perspectives on leadership in the fire service, different challenges that we face throughout our career, it allows us the opportunity to be able to tell our story, because everyone's got a story,
Yeah.
right? And you need to know people's story to be able to know the person, the human side of them, what motivates them. And I would say also, if I had one thing to leave people with, if you have not read Pioneers with Intent,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
It may be a little bit, there could be some updating. And I think it's probably about 20 years now since that was put out. But if you've never read Pioneers with Intent, you can go online, Google it, and you'll find it right away. It was from Air Force Civil Engineer Support Center, I believe at the time. It was AFCISA, now AFCAC.
Yep.
But you can go in there and you can find it and read it. It chronicles the history of fire protection for DoD, how
Yeah.
it started out, how we made the crash vehicles, talk about dabbling in high pressure technology back in the 50s, bunker gear that was asbestos, all of those pioneers that came before us. That was done. And I think we can probably get that updated, because I think there's a lot of goodness that's happened since 2003 2006 timeframe, I think is what the date was on it, and do that. So that would be my challenge to the
I think,
AFCEC team, would be to look at that and see if we can get some historians that can put a fresh version out.
yeah. Yeah. It's great stuff. Yeah. I'm going to be, I think, yeah, it's time to make a phone call. Yeah. We'll go ahead. We'll
I
leave.
think you might know some people.
Think we might be able to reach out to a few folks. But look, Chief, thank you so much for joining me, man. I really appreciate you, brother. I'm always good to see you. All the best to you and the family. And man, might have to have you again on one of these days. Yeah, to kind of talk about some other things. So you got an open invitation anytime you want to join.
I absolutely appreciate it, and the honor is absolutely mine, because I am humbled that you asked me to come on your show, because that you and I go back a long ways, and I value you as a friend and respect you as a chief, and just thank you for the opportunity to come on and talk with you today. Greatly
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you, my brother. And you have been watching the Call Sign Chief One podcast, where my guest is retired Chief Master Sergeant William Taylor. You all have a great day. Call Sign Chief One, we talk leadership where it matters most. Chief One's out, base area. Copy.